there's 20 minutes left in the debate between Kshama and Ryan that we did not cover. And actually, I have not seen, so I want to watch this live with you. It's short because we covered most of it already. So let's pick up here for those that are able to stay and not going to be too much longer, but let's see what else Ryan says, because why I wanted to see this is because Nick tells me that Kshama goes off on him again, even worse. So I want to make sure I see this part. So let's continue here.
In the wake of this vote, who are very disappointed, have been calling out the Biden administration. And we can insert a clip to one right here. So
we have a pro-labor president who loves to pat himself on the back for that.
I intend to be the most pro-union president, leading the most pro-union administration in American history.
And when the going got tough, he turned his back on the people he's supposed to be looking out for.
We've heard from multiple union workers who feel like the Biden administration has let them down.
You voted for President Biden, but now you say you feel like he's turned his back on you.
So this like fiction that we don't know any workers.
They think the Biden administration sold them out because the Biden administration did sell them out. Their eyes are on the prize.
If the betrayal, if you are acknowledging, Ryan, that Biden didn't want this, he didn't negotiate for a bill with the T in it. He seems to have a priori sided with with industry and not pushed for he did not say, I will only sign a TA that includes 7-day sick days. Much to the contrary, he used his power with the Railroad Labor Act to cut into the leverage of railroad workers and deny them their right to legal strike. If the betrayal happens at that point, why is it so difficult to say that every action that comes after that validates Joe Biden's position, including Pramila Jayapal's
she gets him right here
about splitting this bill and the fiction that the 7 days are going to go for it and anything is going to come of it in the Senate, when we know what the edict is coming down from the top of the Biden administration. Everything along that trajectory, all of the fruit of the poisonous tree that is the Biden administration agenda is part of that fiction. And I think that what we're saying, at least I'll speak for myself, what I'm saying here is that to try to carve out, what the squad members did differently. What the squad members did was not really part of the problem. When they chose to vote for this fiction, instead of calling out the Biden administration and voting no the way that Bernie did and draw a line in the sand the way that Kshama is saying.
My question is, because you can see him visibly get upset, why is he visibly upset about people wanting to call out AOC and say, what you're saying about AOC and them being pro-worker is wrong? Why does that make him so visibly upset? Is a question I have.
Makes them complicit. And it was not a choice that gained them anything at all. It didn't gain the possibility of a vote, even as cockamamie as I think it is to believe that vote would have passed the Senate. Their vote in the House didn't even set it up for the Senate because it was going to the Senate anyway, per Pramila Jayapal's own design. So at a certain point, the squad members have to be able to justify without just saying someone else told me so. They're the Congress members. They're in Congress. They're accountable to their constituents. They're accountable to the organizations that they're members of, ostensibly. They have to justify why it is that they voted to break a strike, knowing that they literally had zero to gain from it.
The workers felt they had something to gain from it, and I'll add on to what
he keeps going back to this. He keeps going back to this garbage. He keeps going back to this garbage. And for those who are just getting to this conversation and may not have heard it, I can't believe you haven't, but may not have heard it. He's still trying to bank on workers told. So this is the story he's given, is that some group of workers, this militant small group of workers within one of the unions, there's 12 unions involved. One of the unions have this militant group within that one union came to the Jabal Bowman's office to try to implore this strategy. That is what he's saying happened. So he's saying those workers. The problem he has, and I'm bringing you up to speed, is what Kshama points out. And that is, the problem is it was voted down by all the workers, like all 12 unions. 55% voted it down. So at best, Ryan you're just the people that you're talking about, Ryan, with this strategy, which I think is complete bullshit. What you're talking about is the 45%, the minority. So you're advocating for the people against the majority workers, even through out of your own words, out of your own mouth. I mean, but let's continue.
So they feel like they have more leverage now going into their next round of negotiations. They also are
why?
Because now the carriers know that it's possible that Congress can actually make the deal tougher.
Is that believable? That is not even believable, Ryan, what you're saying. That the rail carriers think that's putting them on point. Now they think because Congress can do something. Congress can do what? Create a separate bill that's not going to be passed, Ryan? Terrible. Let's get to Kshama, please.
Congress broke the strike, Ryan.
Congress has broken every single strike since 1923. This is the first time.
Do you hear how we're having a conversation?
I don't believe a person with the degrees he has and the position he has thinks that this is logical. I don't. He has a position that he has to stay on no matter what. And that's what we're seeing. There's no way that a person can draw logic from this outside of that.
Do you hear this conversation we're having about somehow this being some narrow victory for labor instead of being a soul-crushing defeat for labor?
And
that's so destructive. That's so toxic.
You're asking me what the
a 5-year-old will understand what counts as leverage and what does not. This was a strike-breaking vote. As Brianna said, it was a soul-crushing vote. But more than that, it was worse than that, actually. That's bad enough, but it was worse than that. It didn't help, and it is one of the things that is helping create an opening for dangerous far-right ideas. It's turning people, this is the sort of betrayal that turns people, genuine, good working-class people, young people away from politics. Because when you have a historic betrayal like this, then ordinary people get turned away from politics, and worse than that, they could become fodder for the right. They might think that, this disingenuous and complete con man like Trump could be on their side. That is what happened. That is how Trump won in the first place. This was a historic betrayal. This is the opposite of leverage. If workers, again, as I said, my message is not to people like Ryan Grim, it's to workers who are watching this. If we don't fight back, if we don't fight to make next year a year of victories for workers, if try to replicate Striketober many times over, like John Deere workers, Nabisco and Kellogg's workers winning victories, if we don't multiply those victories many times over, there is a possibility, there's a danger that the betrayal that just happened could go down in history alongside Ronald Reagan crushing the air traffic controller strike, the Batco debacle. So that is what we're talking about. In other words, this is the exact opposite of leverage for workers. I have no idea what this guy is talking about.
Yeah, so Kshama says because after a certain point, when you're engaging with him and engaging in what the arguments he's saying, you start to realize there's no way that a sane person thinks this. There's no way. And that's why you hear in this conversation, you hear Bree multiple times go, what the, you start to go am I crazy here? Because he is saying things that are so out of bounds of logic and reasoning that's why Kshama is I have no idea what this guy is talking about. That's why the reaction. What he's saying is so out of bounds of just logic, of reasoning. There's literally no comment to come back to this shit.
How can any worker in their right mind think that this has somehow created leverage? No, in fact, what we need to do is for workers to start rebuilding their morale after this soul-crushing defeat and learn the lessons and understand that in order to win victories, you need to do the opposite of what happened here.
Ryan, are you concerned at all that the way this panned out set it up so that some workers, and we've seen people say this on social media and on news reports and interviews and such, set it up so that there is some real ambiguity about which side Democrats are on, where some folks are saying, well, I saw various Republicans in the Senate vote this down because it didn't, contain the days off. And I saw Democrats vote for it, and I saw the squad members vote for it. Are you concerned at all that basically this is the perfect storm to set up Republicans in bad faith or whatever, but to set them up to start to claw back the mantle of being the pro-labor party from the Democrats?
Well, I think people should ask the question of whether the party is on their side. They absolutely should.
Including squad members?
Always. They should always be asking that. Yes, they should never let a politician out of your sight.
And where do you come down on that? Do you fundamentally see these votes as a betrayal or not, because you think it's been they credibly relied on what members of BMW wanted?
Yeah, I think it was a legit play on behalf of a reasonable Hail Mary strategy.
Okay, I'm going to replay this. You look at his face based on you and your lived experience as a human, and you tell me if in his face you think he's telling the truth when he's saying this last part that he think it was a legitimate Hail Mary. Because I'm a person that goes off of my instinct. It is completely in his face that he does not believe what he is saying at all. So let me play it again. You tell me if you see it.
Question of whether the party is on their side. They absolutely should.
Including squad members?
Always. They should always be asking that. Yes, they should never let a politician out of your sight.
And where do you come down on that? Do you fundamentally see these votes as a betrayal or not, because you think it's been they credibly.
This is the question. Watch his face, his eyes in particular, any other tell you think he has. Because to me, his face is telling me this is not the truth that he believes.
Relied on what members of BMW wanted.
Yeah, I think it was a legit.
No. That look. No. That's a tell. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I don't believe that shit whatsoever. Not whatsoever does he believe what he is saying. Whatsoever. So that means he is now openly here, no doubt about it, here to shield for the left to protect the progressive narrative in this duopoly. Because protecting the progressive narrative, seeing somebody in Congress on the left as on your team is key, and keeping young people engaged and keeping people of color engaged and people on the left. Without the narrative of the squad being progressive and left, without that, you're going to start seeing movements and popping up. And maybe that's what we're seeing.
BMW wanted.
Yeah, I think it was a legit play on behalf.
You spot me another place in the video where he makes that face. Then he absolutely does not believe this. But let's continue.
A reasonable Hail Mary strategy. And the other point that I was going to add is that the other thing they're trying to do is build momentum for this executive order that would remove.
Let's talk about this briefly, because Ryan, I've noticed a pattern that every time there was a disappointment like this, and this happened after Force the Vote as well, there's something else that's dangled. And maybe that's me being too cynical, but from my perspective, there's always this next thing that people need to be aspirational for. So with Force the Vote, we started talking about, well, they got these little concessions, they got PAYGO, they got da-da-da-da. Okay.
And then massive amount of spending in 2021, 22.
We don't have to revisit how that was so
Yeah. When he answered that question, he was looking down. He can't look at them. The guy, if y'all, listen to the ruling class. If y'all gonna get a guy like this to represent you, You got to get a better liar. You can't get Richie Cunningham to be your liar. And that's essentially what you got. You got Richie Cunningham to be your liar, and he's terrible at it. Richie Cunningham is from Happy Days, okay? You don't know, for everybody. All right, so let's continue.
So transformative to all these lives. But they also started talking about how we're going to save our political capital. This was what AOC said in her tweet to Justin Jackson. We're going to save our political capital for Fight for 15, and we all know how that went. Now, it feels like deja vu. They're talking about how there's this executive order that Biden could, by executive order, give sick days to all federal employees, which would include rail workers. But part of the story that's being left out in all of these tweets, including all of these tweets from progressives who were supposed to be trusting with this messaging, is that Barack Obama did exactly this by executive order and explicitly carved out rail workers. Because I think fundamentally the issue is the rail industry is not going to budge on this specific issue. It's why it was designed like this in the past. So why should anybody look at this as a credible goal that could be achieved in the short term when, one, Biden didn't do it today. He didn't do it yesterday. He could have done it any time. He's not, and he hasn't done it yet. And two, the last time he did this, the president did this when Biden was a VP, they intentionally carved out rail workers. What's changed?
Well, I sympathize. Politics in America, is constant defeats and then a step forward here and there. And some people get up and dust themselves off and keep going. And so, like the thing they're pushing for now is both they're going to be back in contract negotiations soon, so they're kind of trying to build power for the next time that Congress tries to jam this down their throats, and they're going to go for the EO, because the sun rises in the morning and you got to get up and you got to keep going.
Do you feel any ambiguity? Do you feel any reluctance as you say, I heard you say on RBN that you just want to put the facts out there. Yeah. Isn't part of the facts that Biden could have done this anytime? Yeah. He's chosen not to do this anytime. And that last time this kind of an executive order was on the table, Obama explicitly chose not to extend this sick leave right to rail workers. Yeah. Isn't it kind of dishonest and misleading to hold out this possibility without providing that full context?
Oh, I've always provided that full context. The 2015 order was written by Obama, who explicitly carved out railroad workers. Biden, the greatest, what does he call himself? The great.
You see that the blinking of the eyes. This motherfucker's lying.
This friend of organized labor in the White House ever, is an extraordinarily low bar. He could have put this into the TA if he wanted to. He did not. He has to be pushed. He's not giving this away for nothing. He was asked about it 3 days ago by a reporter in the White House, and he just blamed Republicans. So there's still a lot of.
Look, Ryan, you tweeted this on December 1st. Union sources tell me their next push will be to demand Biden include railway workers in the executive order, blah, blah, blah. That the additional context is not there. That tweet has almost 9,000 likes. So I know maybe in the article
exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing, and it's despicable. He's absolutely here to mislead, not to inform. That is what journalism is now. Journalism in the United States, especially corporate journalism, is to mislead, not to inform, and that is what he's doing here.
Click through the Intercept article, the broader context is there. But that tweet, you have to know that your tweet is being leveraged by people who are, again, making excuses for why what happened was okay. That's okay. We're going to have another bite of the apple, guys. It's going to be another fight. And that is taking, I think, energy.
But that is the next thing that they're fighting for. Why wouldn't I say that?
Because it's pacifying. It has a pacifying effect on people who should be.
It should have a galvanize. Why is it not galvanized?
Why would anybody be galvanized about the idea?
Opposite of logic. And he's trying to get people to believe that. I've never seen such a terrible case, a failure at gaslighting than this. I've never seen. It's so amazing to see this guy still try to act like this is legitimate.
The idea of an executive order that just has about as much likelihood as passing as happening as the 7-day sick leave.
Then you don't have to. Then you can look. the World Cup is on. Like, people can do whatever they want. They don't have to, like,
people
engage.
Are trusting you.
Yeah, he's
people
completely
are trusting
destroying his reputation.
Sources to be credibly setting up winnable fights. Not that we are distracting them with carrots that are never going to be fulfilled to help them get over disappointments that they should sit with. Because there are some real critiques that Kshama is making that people should be making about labor leadership, how much you can rely on labor leadership, how much you can trust this idea of labor as a whole, or rank and file, and the diversity of interests that are represented therein, and how much we should be able to fundamentally trust people like members of the squad. And those are questions that are being highlighted.
Who are you and I to tell them it's not a winnable fight? You think they'll never get sick days? Ever?
No, I didn't say no.
You see how he's trying to frame it? Who are I to tell us we can get sick days? Like we're telling the workers. You're such a fuckface bitch, man. This is more infuriating as I get, because he's intentionally covering for people who are fucking strike breakers. I am trying to stay calm here.
They're never going to get sick days if they keep following carrot after carrot after carrot that's dangled by a Democratic Party that has demonstrated its disinterest.
Okay, so, all right, but your strategy was that the rank and file should organize and then become more militant, but not if they suggest a strategy that you think is dumb.
Ryan,
so,
you know that's a misrepresentation.
Yeah, it's completely misrepresentation, you fuckface bitch. This is fucking absolutely disgusting what this fucking piece of shit is doing.
I think was idiotic. Maybe
I need to go soon, so if I can just
please, Sean, I'm sorry. Please,
no problem at all. I think Ryan Grim doesn't worry me. I know that the workers who are listening to this understand that he's engaging in sophistry and he's completely misrepresenting what I said. The truth, though, is it's not about Ryan Grim. It is about people like him. We workers and those of us, genuinely, not that we are infallible. Like you said, we all make mistakes. But the point is, those of us who are genuinely trying to fight for workers, to build a different kind of society, not this society, this kind of misery-filled society, while a few at the top have filled their insatiable greed. We cannot trust people like Ryan Grim. I mean, Ryan Grim says, never let politicians out of your sight, while at the same time defending those same politicians who have sold out working people. I would say
you're
working
such
people,
a fucking
never
clown,
let politicians
man.
out of your sight, but never let people like Ryan Grim out of your sight. Politicians couldn't sell workers out without the Ryan Grims of the world defending their betrayals. Politicians rely on the left cover of people exactly like Ryan here, making the rounds.
She is destroying this motherfucker.
Or vicious attacks on the working class, and then not only stopping there. Today's episode was just really shocking. I mean, just not only that, but turning around and accusing fighters for workers, socialists like myself, as somehow being against workers. This is just just stunning. But nothing new. It's not a surprise to me. I've seen this all the time in Seattle. If the Democrats on the council weren't given cover by people like them, they would not be able to do what they do, which is sell workers out over and over again. And the way we counter that using my office is we create pressure by exposing them, by building movement, by building clarity, not through sophistry. And the victories we have won are testament to that. But the victories we have won required me to use my office to expose the bad votes, even when I have been the lone no vote, because it is that exposure, putting the spotlight on the Democrats and their betrayals, that combined with using your office as a socialist to build movements is what has allowed us to win the $15 minimum wage, the Amazon tax, and any number of renters' rights which have become national news. It is that kind of fighting movement that we need for social issues, and certainly what we urgently need inside labor and to fight the climate catastrophe. And in fact, this is my last point, AOC herself, when she was quoted in the New York Times in 2020, she said that sometimes I feel, I'm paraphrasing, she says, sometimes I feel like my party is not on my own party is against me, something like that. Well, it's true. The Democratic Party does not represent the interests of workers. And to the extent that AOC genuinely came into politics wanting to represent the working class, It's not going to work inside the Democratic Party. So it's true. But now we have come to a point where she has made her choices. It's not about her. It's about what working people need. So if we don't call out the betrayals of people who say they're socialists and then they vote yes on a strike breaker vote, what will this lead to? It will lead to young people and workers getting turned off socialism itself. Yes. Because if they
and that is the intention.
Are selling workers out, how can I call myself a socialist then?
That's the intention. That's the intention of the Squad and progressives doing these types of things, sending money to Ukraine, voting for Iron Domes, doing strike breaking, is to say socialists do this. Socialists. And you got fuckface Ryan bitch-ass Grimm out here shielding for them. He has just superseded for me, Cenk. This bitch motherfucker Ryan Grimm right here. You bitch. Just infuriating what you're doing. You piece of shit, worthless piece of shit.
That is going to help discredit the genuine ideas of socialism itself. And that is why I take my responsibility as a socialist elected representative very seriously. And that is why I never ran as a Democrat, as you all know. I ran as an independent socialist, and I'm a member of Socialist Alternative, which is not part of the Democratic Party. And in fact, that is why we are urgently calling for the need for a new party for working people, because it is, if nothing else, this railroad worker betrayal has shown to millions of people it is simply not working for workers to rely on the Democratic Party.
And I'm going to leave it there. I can't even listen to this piece of shit, bitch, Ryan. He's a fuckface child boy out here just nakedly shielding for the fucking Squad like a fucking. Okay, I'm gonna go off this motherfucker right here has really got under my skin, because it's nothing like a person who's a traitor to me. And this guy is here pretending as if he's here as a leftist and for workers. All the while doing the complete opposite. And what makes it worse for me and him, about him, is he came here and said, I was dirt poor. So you grew up. You have a memory that you can call back to, and you're saying, fuck those people by doing what you're doing. Nothing like a fucking traitor. And you're a traitor to workers. You're a traitor to the poor, because that's where you came from, you fucking bitch. I gotta go, man.